The scent of antiseptic in the hospital corridor is a thin mask for the poison in the air. A whispered conversation in a car door's shadow carries the chill of a blade not yet drawn. The reckoning is here, and the only safe place is inside the truth. Stay on the frequency. Bai Lian, respect. In the eastern part of the city, the old district, Bai Lian led Jiang He out of the car. In the car, Chen Jingyu didn't dare to speak in front of Bai Lian. It wasn't until she got out of the car that he turned his head to look at Ming Dengheng and lowered his voice. What's the use of explaining so much to her? Could this Miss Bai understand? He had recently been recommended by a surplus god and was making a name for himself in the Chen family, also eyeing Ming Dengheng's bodyguard position, feeling extremely inflated inside. Almost forgetting himself, Ming Dengheng's expression was cold. Chen Jingyu, be mindful of what you say and do. Bai Lian arrived early today. The Calligraphy Association hadn't opened yet. Only a few street vendors had opened their stalls by the roadside. Bai Lian bought a sugar figure in the shape of a crane for Jiang He and waited for him to eat the sugar while waiting for the martial arts gym to open. Finally, when Hall Master Jin came out, she intercepted him and got straight to the point. Hall Master Jin, do you have any plans to reopen the martial arts gym? Bai Lian had been formulating and planning this idea ever since she found the martial arts gym. She had researched many gyms over the past 2 months and asked people like Jiang He for information about Xingyi Martial Arts School, having a preliminary plan for the gym's closure and subsequent development. Upon hearing Bai Lian's words, Jin Kai's expression didn't fluctuate at all. He just looked up at her. He was only around 40 years old, with deep wrinkles at the corners of his eyes and brows. Sorry, but I have to get to work. This is my initial idea. Bai Lian handed a piece of paper to Jin Kai, and she just smiled lightly. You can take a look when you have time. She had a pair of lazy almond eyes, black pupils, and gentle lines. When she smiled, it seemed casual and carefree, yet carried an inexplicable tension, making people involuntarily believe in her. Jin Kai accepted that piece of paper. He then silently continued on to work at the construction site nearby. Not far away, next to the bus stop sign, a sedan was parked. In the back seat, a man's eyes, looking through the window and landing on the girl, were gloomy. He leisurely pulled out a cigarette. I was wondering why Jin Kai had always refused to sell the martial arts gym. Turns out he found a new backer. The person in the driver's seat was surprised. Secretary Zhou, do you know her? I'm no longer the secretary of the Ren family. Zhou Jian lit the cigarette, his lips slowly curling. She's Su-en's stepdaughter. And who is Su-en? Su-en. The new big boss in Xiangcheng. No wonder she's so arrogant, Zhou Jian sneered. Let's head back. He lowered his head, took out his phone, and sent a message to a number. Rest assured, miss. No one can shake your position. He looked up. If Bai Lian were here, she would have recognized this person as the former Secretary General of Ren Kian. Afternoon. After fishing in the evening, Su-en finally went to the Ren family's dinner party. President Su. Ren Kian and Chen Gang raised their glasses towards Su-en, and after drinking one, Ren Kian spoke up. You were really unlucky today, otherwise you could have met Miss Yu. The person on the side filled the trio's cups with wine again. Su-en pressed his brow, finding today's alcohol a bit strong. He glanced at the person pouring the wine, whom he seemed to have met before. It was Ren Kian's secretary. Regarding Ren Kian's comment, Su-en remained composed. I had some urgent matters if there's another opportunity. I will inform you in advance, said Chen Gang with a smile. From Saturday night to Monday morning. Jian Zhangyu, who hadn't replied to Bai Lian, finally responded to her message. President Jian, the song recording is complete. President Jian, let me have a look at the abbreviated musical score you restored. By Jian. One Jian Zhangyu sat in his office. He hadn't rested much these past days. The people at Jiangjing Music Academy were striving for perfection, not tolerating a single flaw, and finally finished the song before Yan Lu's release. After all this, he listened to the music for a long time before he opened the chat window with Bai Lian. It was a picture of an abbreviated musical score. Jian Zhangyu clicked to open it. Bai Lian had added several fingerings to the score. Jian Zhangyu was a bit stunned. He couldn't care about resting anymore and went to the music room to play the fingering sequence Bai Lian had supplied, according to order. Aha. Sister Lion, the official account, commented on my video. In the front seat, Pu Ziohen opened the video for Bai Lian to see. Look quickly. The others in the class crowded around too. It was a video Pu Ziohen had just posted this week. The video featured Grandpa Tao and his puppets. Bai Lian watched attentively. Pu Ziohen had a flair for editing. She spent more than half a month creating this video of less than 2 minutes. It started with the classic music of the Great Sage's entrance, matched with Grandpa Tao's manipulation of the Great Sage. In this vast world, who has ever frightened me, old son? Chills ran down Wang Qi's spine as he stood beside. From the enthusiastic son Wukong to the scholarly top scholar, to Grandpa Tao's humble little cabin, and ultimately ending with a black screen, as well as Grandpa Tao's words. Will anyone really like this? Hot comment. Grandpa, I really love it, teary-eyed. With such great craftsmanship, why does Grandpa seem to live so poorly? Because he can't make a living, sigh. I'm in Xiancheng. I'll come to see you during the holiday. Grandpa? The top hot comment was that official one mentioned by Pu Ziohen, a high-quality, meaningful video. 2,587,441 likes soon. The trending topic, official comment and a big bowl of eat, was slowly climbing up. The followers of Eat and a Big Bowl skyrocketed from 5.6 million to over 9 million. Wang Qi clapped Pu Ziohen on the shoulder and said earnestly, Don't forget each other in wealth. Share the spoils if you witness it. Share the spoils if you witness it. Pu Ziohen escaped from the crowd and then bit her finger as she looked at Bai Lian. Bai Lian nonchalantly took out a book. On hearing this, she raised her eyebrows slightly. Speak. Pu Ziohen made an "oh" sound and then said seriously, I want to film you doing that, dancing with the longsword. And also your grandfather, I want to shoot an episode about his needlework. She had seen Bai Lian demonstrate the longsword to Yan Lu. She hadn't seen much, only twice. Only after seeing it with her own eyes did she understand why Bai Lian said she was average with the longsword. For compared to her longsword, it really could be called average. Pu Ziohen couldn't stop thinking about it. Bai Lian crossed her legs and wrote a neat chemical formula in her notebook, her tone as unhurried as ever. Next time, get Yan Lu to shoot it for you. As for my grandpa, I'll go ask him. She wasn't sure if Jai Heng would be willing to be filmed. You won't do it. Pu Ziohen was a little disappointed, but upon hearing that Bai Lian was willing to ask Jai Heng, she perked up again. Hey, it would be great if there were special effects, like a bang and an explosion upon collision. Grandpa Tao's video lacked special effects, otherwise it would have been perfect. Her video's transitions, cuts, and music were all perfect. It was just missing some live-action special effects. Collision effects? Bai Lian paused, her head lifting thoughtfully. She then took out her phone. The reply from the young Master Jiang was always swift. Bai student, can I borrow your lab? Jiang teacher, oh, Jiang teacher. Is that all? Bai student. When the reply was cold and emotionless, and just in time for class, she put her phone away. Early in the morning, just after a group meeting at the CRFS Dark Matter Research Institute, Jiang He put away his documents. His pale fingers tapped the screen irritably at that one, and pressed several times. I patted Bai student on the shoulder and spoke of building socialism. Jiang young master. Back to Yan Lu. She didn't wait for the full song to come out. The shooting ceremony was on Monday morning. She flew back to Baikeng, then took a long car ride to rejoin the crew in Xiancheng. It was already Monday morning. The main cast of Great Yang had all arrived on set. After getting her makeup and costume done, Yan Lu held a stick of incense and bowed to the altar with a group of people. Although she had secured a leading role this time, her popularity was lower than the other actors, so she stood at the edge. Once director Wan Qiushan finished his worship, he found her, expressing some concern. The microblog for joining the production should be posted at 9 o'clock along with the public, and have you not used the character song we previously found for you? Yan Lu took out her phone. Xinjai had just sent a message. Video, Xinjai. The song wasn't released in time, just post the video on Weibo first. Thank you, director. A friend of mine wrote one for me. I'll post the video directly later. Yanlu saved the video to her phone. Wan Qiushan was shocked by Yanlu. You haven't released this song yet. The character songs of the other actors had been released a week ago. Yanlu had been so calm for the whole week that he had thought she found a well-known composer. But it was just a friend of hers. He held his forehead, took out his phone, and walked to the side to call the publicity team for the program. When Yanlu posts her Weibo later, pay attention to controlling the comments, Wan Qiushan said. He genuinely appreciated Yanlu's interpretation of the role. If he had known earlier that Enchi would back out at the last minute, he would never have sought him out. He didn't want the leading actress to get bashed before they even started recording the TV series. Being criticized in the entertainment industry is commonplace, and Wan Qiushan had been through it as well, but he didn't want Yanlu to be affected by the negative comments while filming. In Baikeng, before the recording of the variety show Perfect. Enchi, Manzai, have you heard? A singer who had finished recording the variety show chuckled as he slung his arm over Enchi, lowering his voice. Enchi's former rumored flame is looking all over for someone to write a song for her. Has she not come to you? Manzai's variety show had specially invited the popular singer Enchi. Their CP fans would surge after this episode. The circle was more informed than the outside world. Previously, Yanlu was banned by the Liu family, but she struck lucky as the Liu family was later found to have tax and financial issues, and now most of their shareholders were detained for investigation. Enchi, with a cool demeanor, said no. Then she's going to be ripped apart by netizens today, the man shrugged. Maybe she found a good team, Manzai smiled. Someone else joined the conversation, haha. Maybe she found someone even better than Enchi. Of course, everyone knew that was impossible. Standing to the side, Manzai's eyes held a touch of mockery when she looked down. Whether Yanlu had even finished recording a song was unknown. The group headed to the makeup room. Enchi's manager also gave him a look and pulled him aside to caution in a low voice. Even if Yanlu approaches you, don't give her that song. You're going to Jiangjing Music Academy for further studies. You can't be associated with any scandals. Enchi had been tied to Yanlu in the past, but compared to her, who had a pretty face with no acting skills, no prospects for development, and a myriad of scandals, Enchi's team naturally favored Manzai. This opportunity was given to Enchi by Time Entertainment. Enchi was only going to attend a couple of classes at Jiangjing Music Academy, but the outside world would be informed that he was there for further studies. How could the fans tell the difference? I understand, Enchi nodded. 9 o'clock. The official Great Yang account mentioned all the actors announcing the start of production. V. Yanlu. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the production team. I will give my all in portraying this character and will not let anyone down. Attached is the character song video. The Weibo world was a stormy place. The character songs of the other main actors had already been released, but there was no news from Yanlu. Now that production had started, like scattered stars in a dark sky, there were fans who followed Yanlu. They saw that she hadn't even released her character song, just a video. Forget it, let's just bite the bullet. A few despairing fans thought to themselves, until they looked at the comments section. Jiangjing Music Academy retweeted and commented, "Congratulations to Miss Yanlu." Under this comment, it wasn't long before the haters arrived. Manzai's diehard fan, "Miss Yanlu, which miss? Please return Manzai's resources to Yanlu. Yanlu still has fans. Which company's water army are you from? Come on, how much did Yanlu pay you?" Passerby 1. Manzai's fans have gone crazy. They see a water army in everyone. Look clearly at who you're spraying. Passerby 2. I thought it was a high-quality imitation account, but after checking the homepage, I'm kneeling in awe kneeling. Passerby 3. Just asking timidly, did nobody listen to the song? Great Yang crew. The first scene started, and since it was the first scene, Wan Qiushan didn't want any mistakes. He hoped to get it right in one take, so he directly filmed the scene for Liang Ziyuan with 2 seasoned actors. After the shoot, he remembered the issue with Yanlu and inquired about the control of comments in the publicity department. You haven't checked Weibo yet. The publicity department staff was taken aback before suggesting Wan Qiushan check Weibo in a tactful manner. Wan Qiushan hurriedly opened Weibo. The usually smooth Weibo was a bit laggy today. He clicked on Yan Lu's account, and in just half an hour, Yan Lu's Weibo post had already garnered 230,000 comments. Wan Qiushan's eyes immediately landed on the top-liked comment from Jiangjing Music Academy. His fingers trembling slightly, he clicked on Jiangjing Music Academy. Jiangjing Music Academy following. 6 fans. 9.87 million. Through the microphone, the publicity department staff continued to speak, but he suppressed his excitement. It's Jiangjing Music Academy's official account. How did you find Miss Yan? Director Wan, do you know gambling with liquor? Every music platform is asking our crew if they can buy the copyright outright. Did you introduce this song for Yan Lu? Even Jiangjing Music Academy has entered the fray. Jiangjing Music Academy, the musical palace not just in the country, but across Asia. Anyone in the entertainment industry who can be associated with this institution is considered a scholarly elite worth hyping. But who could have expected the official account to directly promote Yan Lu? Director Wan ended the call and clicked on Yan Lu's video. The clear sound of the guzheng started from afar and came closer, as 4 lines of text slowly emerged. Gambling with liquor lyrics. Bai Lian composition. Bai Lian arrangement. Jian by Jian. Nobody had any impression of these 2 names. But immediately after, the sound of the pipa captured everyone's attention, and with a drum beat, Yan Lu's slightly deep and distinctive voice rang out, "A cup to the past." The video was composed of simple scenes, but along with Yan Lu's voice mixed with the beats of drums, the guzheng, and the pipa. The song perfectly blended the national style, and it seemed as if everyone could see a life of epic grandeur. Good music doesn't need promotion. One person passed it on to another, and by 9:30, the Weibo trending search had climbed to a terrifying number, trending no one. Gambling with liquor exploding, trending no 2. Yan Lu exploding, trending no 3. Who is Bai Lian exploding, trending no 4. Great Yang starts filming, trending no 5. Jiangjing Music Academy before even filming the drama. Yan Lu was slaying all over Weibo with just one unpublished song. Haters wanted to find something to criticize, but after repeatedly listening to the song, from lyrics and composition to arrangement, they found there was absolutely nothing to pick on, of course. No one knew that the arrangement had been done by Jian Zhangyu, standing at the peak of the musical temple, and that every instrument was accompanied by well-known teachers from Jiangjing Music Academy, especially the composition, which was by the original author of the 1,000-year-old, The White-Robed Journey. With such a combination, how could it not explode on Weibo? This wave drove the entire Weibo crazy. Because of one song, Yan Lu became famous. Another topic's popularity was rising. I seemed to be witnessing the birth of a legendary composer. Bai Lian didn't go online. She was oblivious to the fervor of the song on the internet. When her manager called her, she spoke with utmost respect. "Miss Bai, every major platform wants to buy the rights to gambling with liquor. I've discussed it with Yan Lu. The royalties will be given to you and Principal Jian." No need. Bai Lian walked with the crowd heading out, and seeing Jiang He squatting on the roadside waiting for her, she walked over to him. "Give the normal amount." Her manager was surprised by Bai Lian's response for the first time. "Miss Bai, this is the copyright fee, not a cabbage." Of course, her manager wouldn't really give just the standard price, and she went on to ask about another matter. And Principal Jian. Since Principal Jian had done the arrangement and helped Yan Lu record the song, her manager naturally wouldn't forget about these 2 benefactors to Yan Lu. She didn't have the dean's contact information. "I'll ask for you," Bai Lian said, standing in front of Jiang He, lazily reaching out to grab the collar at the back of his neck. With Bai Lian by her side and Jiang He not around, Pu Ziohen dared to greet Jiang He with a smile. "Zio now." Jiang He's little face was very cold. He attempted to resist the name, Jiang Zio now, with all his might. Jiang He was busy on Monday. The driver was Ming Dingheng, and Bai Lian didn't send a message to inquire with Jian Zhangyu until after she got in the car. "Dean Jian, no need Dean Jian, just come to our school." Bai Lian. I want to apply to Jiangjing University. Dean Jian. What's so good about it? He was even more carefree than Bai Lian, as at his level as the dean, he was no longer trapped by money, but pursued the true temple of art. Bai Lian threw this screenshot to Sister Xin. Sister Xin. This screenshot was explosive to the entire entertainment industry. Every sentence could make netizens collapse. The car soon stopped at the entrance to an ancient-looking courtyard. It was Pu Ziohen's first time here. She saw the iron fence covered in colorful vines and a winding cobblestone path leading to an ancient Chinese 3-story building. She was greatly amazed. The 3 people sitting in the garden chairs in front of the building turned their heads quickly upon hearing the noise. When Chen Jingyu saw Bai Lian, he put down the document in his hand and exclaimed with joy, "Miss Bai, you've come." Bai Lian's visits here were even fewer than to the library. "I'll go make some tea," Ming Dingheng said, heading for the hall as soon as the car stopped. Chen Jingyu remembered Bai Lian liked the pastries here and hurried after him. "Miss Bai, I'll check the kitchen." The other 2 also stood up upon seeing this. The man was Chen Jingyu and the woman, Yu Hongyi. This time Yu Hongyi finally got a clear look at Bai Lian. She sized up the school uniform Bai Lian wore, which bore the logo of Xiancheng No 1 Middle School, and said, "Hello, I am Yu Hongyi." She introduced herself. She used "I am" instead of "my name is." Normally, those without some level of fame would not dare introduce themselves that way. Yu Hongyi wore casual clothes, and as she was always ranked at the top in Zhangwu, there was an inevitable arrogance in her movements that she couldn't completely conceal, and her presence was strong. Pu Ziohen didn't dare to speak to her and just stood by Bai Lian. "Bai Lian!" Bai Lian nodded to her briefly, to the point. After speaking, she led Pu Ziohen towards the small lab. Jiang He followed closely behind her. "What is this?" Pu Ziohen asked in surprise, looking at the air raid shelter door to the left of the small wooden building. By Yu Hongyi's side, upon seeing that Bai Lian was heading in that direction, Chen Jingyu quickly tried to stop her, glanced at Bai Lian, and frowned. "This is a critical research area. You can't go there." Everyone knew what position Jiang He held. The research and labs were top-secret documents. In his critical research area, aside from his team members, not even Ming Dingheng or old Mr. Chen could enter and exit at will. Yu Hongyi also looked over, her gaze flitting indifferently over Bai Lian's school uniform before settling on Jiang He behind her. "You might not be aware, but everything here cannot be tampered with. Zio surely knows this, right?" Both were martial artists. Pu Ziohen didn't dare meet their gaze. Involuntarily, she clutched at the hem of Bai Lian's clothes. A chill tinted Bai Lian's brows and eyes as she reached out calmly with her phone and moved Chen Jingyu's arm that was blocking the way. Her right index finger pressed on the fingerprint lock, and with a beep, the door opened. She went straight in. Jiang He followed behind her with practiced ease. Pu Ziohen was taken aback and quickly followed. The door closed slowly behind them, and Pu Ziohen entered such an upscale private laboratory for the first time. She hurried forward, wanting to say something to Bai Lian, but heard her softly reciting the heart-clearing mantra. "No, Lian, you." Bai Lian and Jiang He were very familiar with the laboratory, and they demonstrated many experiments to Pu Ziohen. Pu Ziohen, with her camera, could hardly keep up with their pace. 2 hours later, the 3 of them came out still not having had their fill. Outside, the garden lights shone as bright as day. Yu Hongyi, holding a long spear, was demonstrating spear technique to Ming Dingheng. Director Chen, not understanding, just watched the excitement. Seeing Bai Lian come out, he quickly went to get the pastries and approached her. "Miss Bai, are you done with your work?" "Oh, Master Yu is teaching Mr. Ming the long spear techniques. Master Yu is exceptional with the long spear." Bai Lian took the pastries, expressed thanks, and casually glanced toward the open space in the garden. Hearing Director Chen say so, Pu Ziohen also looked towards Yu Hongyi. Pu Ziohen had seen Bai Lian's long spear technique, as well as Yan Lu's. She intended to film long spear techniques, so she watched very carefully. Yu Hongyi's spear technique was not bad, with strong force and speed. But Pu Ziohen had seen spears wielded with terrible force in the return horse spear. Yanlu, an actor, could perform the spear technique very well. She had great expectations for what director Chen had called exceptional. But the result? Pu Ziohan even had the thought, that's it. Upon hearing director Chen speak so highly of Yu Hongyi, she couldn't help scratching her head and asked him in a low voice, "This is considered exceptional." That's not to mention Lian. Yanlu is also an expert. This, director Chen didn't really understand either, but Yu Hongyi was indeed great with the long spear. As someone who did not practice spear skills, he could not elaborate on the specifics. Master Yu is really impressive, you see her. Look at how she connects one thrust to the next, right? Pu Ziohan. One thrust after another. Shouldn't you go back to Chinese language classes? Their voices were low, but those who practice martial arts have keen senses, and halfway through her demonstration, Yu Hongyi couldn't help but stop and look at Pu Ziohan. What dan are you in long spear? 8 dan, Pu Ziohan was startled. What dan? Yu Hongyi narrowed her eyes. You don't even know the ranking system. I'm sorry. Pu Ziohan realized Yu Hongyi had heard her comments. Your soaring dragon tail technique is too high at the spear tip. Bai Lian patted Pu Ziohan on the shoulder and looked at Yu Hongyi. The wrist force is too weak. You need to practice your wrist strength. Soaring dragon tail has 2 types of attacks, retreat and counterattack both. Bai Lian had a good impression of those who practiced with the long spear. Yu Hongyi politely turned to Ming Dingheng. Mr. Ming, don't you have anything to say? Ming Dingheng looked at Yu Hongyi and was caught off guard by Bai Lian's sudden critique, as Yu Hongyi was indeed considered a top-tier spear user in his book. Miss Bai is very skilled, I think. If that is the case, Mr. Ming, you might as well have Miss Bai give you instruction. Yu Hongyi's mood had entirely vanished, and she discarded her long spear. Bai Lian watched the spear thrown on the ground, walked over, bent down to pick it up, and frowned. Yu Hongyi thought Bai Lian was about to preach and raised her hand to interrupt directly. When you reach 8 or 9 dan with the long spear, maybe then you can talk to me. Yu Hongyi spoke calmly, merely stating the truth. She became famous at a young age and had an aloof status within the Yu family, overshadowing all the younger generation, and with the glory of Dongwu, she always stood at the pinnacle of the Yu family. Having spent years in Jiangjing, she hadn't taken Bai Lian and Pu Ziohan's words to heart at all. Neither of them was significant in her social circle. They were simply from 2 different worlds. What bothered her, though, was that the others present seemed indifferent to Bai Lian and Pu Ziohan's words. And there was Chen Yongkun. What was with his description of her marksmanship? However, now that Chen Yongkun's status had risen, Yu Hongyi also harbored some apprehensions. Having said her piece, she turned around, ready to leave the estate. She had thought that at the very least, Ming Dingheng and Chief Chen would try to keep her from leaving. Unexpectedly, as she stepped out the door, neither of them reacted at all. She left, suppressing her anger. Chen Jingyu looked at Ming Dingheng in surprise. Since they were rivals to begin with, his indifference puzzled Chen Jingyu. Mr. Ming, do you know what you're doing? Ming Dingheng glanced at him but said nothing. Chen Jingyu let out a sigh of relief, feeling a surge of unexpected joy. If Yu Hongyi didn't advise Ming Dingheng, his own chances could be much greater. Suppressing his joy, he hurried out. Miss Yu, wait for me. Behind him. Miss Bai. Ming Dingheng looked at Bai Lian and quickly explained. I was just asking her what level is required to enter Dongwu, and she demonstrated spear techniques for me. I think you're very strong. Ming Dingheng had a strong will to survive. Exactly. Chief Chen couldn't tell the difference, but it didn't prevent him from speaking up. Outside the door, the not-so-far Chen Jingyu and Yu Hongyi's faces darkened even more. I don't see what's so great about her. Chen Jingyu studied Yu Hongyi's expression. She's frail, and speaking of intelligence, she can't even compare to that Liang Wuyu from the Liang family. Whether she can get into Jiangjing University is still in question. This year's situation with Jiangjing University was drawing attention due to Liang Wuyu's presence. He had been invited by many laboratories even before entering university. You're comparing her to Liang Wuyu? Yu Hongyi shook her head. Apart from her face, indeed, she saw no other strengths in Bai Lian. Her standards were always high. Hearing her say that, Chen Jingyu also felt he had lost his sense, as Liang Wuyu was aiming to be top. My bad. Pu Ziohan also felt a bit awkward back in the garden. I won't speak out of turn again. Bai Lian lazily twirled the long spear, stuffing the pastries given by Chief Chen into Pu Ziohan's hand and shaking her head in response. If you can't accept criticism, how can you improve? Bai Lian had been learning martial arts behind Bai Zhangyu since she was young. Being the youngest, Bai Zhangyu and Chen Yi, who trained with her, would always accommodate her. After Bai Zhangyu passed away, she and Chen Yi went to the battlefield together, only managing to leave a cenotaph for him. Afterwards, she spent 3 years on the battlefield, killing enemies with that spear. By then, no one would let her off the hook. The veterans in the military couldn't persuade her to return, so they taught her moves for killing enemies. On the battlefield, every contest decided life and death. All her experience was fought for on the battlefield, where every warrior was resolute, because every move was meant to kill, not for performance. For the Bai family, the spear was ingrained in their bones and blood. She looked down at the long spear carelessly thrown aside in her hand. The martial arts practiced by people nowadays lacked lethality and were too flashy, with Yu Hongyi being a prime example. This was why Pu Ziohan felt something was off about Yu Hongyi's move, the soaring dragon tail, because she had seen Yan Lu's lethal moves performed. It's getting windy. Let's go back to the hall first. Chief Chen hastily spoke up, wanting to steer away from this subject. Jiang He hurried back close to 9 o'clock. Upon arrival, she first glanced at Chief Chen. There wasn't any particular expression, but just that indifferent glance made Chief Chen involuntarily straighten his back. Bai Lian sat at a table on the side doing her homework. She sat up straight, the workbook from her school open in front of her, casually resting one hand on it. The hall was brightly lit. Jiang He sat next to her with a tablet, drawing. Mingdingheng stood emotionlessly behind Chief Chen, occasionally miming the moves of the spear, seemingly trying to learn Bai Lian's style of twirling the spear. Pu Ziohan sat on the sofa opposite Chief Chen, holding a camera, reviewing footage taken that day and planning how to edit it and incorporate special effects into her video. At the sound, Bai Lian finished a problem before looking up. You're finally back. She closed the book and capped the pen with one hand. There's someone who got the data wrong, Jiang He complained with a cold expression, as if venting to her. Otherwise, he could have come back earlier. Bai Lian put the book back into her bag, looked up and pondered. Then will you forgive them? Oh, Jiang He agreed reluctantly. When Jiang He came back, the aunt served another meal. Jiang He, Mingdingheng, Director Chen, and a few others had already finished eating, leaving Jiang He to dine alone. Director Chen glanced at Jiang He and had a sudden inspiration. Miss Bai, are you hungry? Not really, I had 2 pieces of cake earlier. Bai Lian got up. But I have to go now, my grandfather is waiting for me for dinner. Pu Ziohan also stood up nervously, thanking Jiang He. Mingdingheng was about to grab his car keys and stand up when Director Chen quickly pressed him down, thinking expressionlessly in his heart. Mr. Ming has lost his mind. Jiang He, enveloped in a layer of cold frost, grabbed his keys and left first. When he came back, Mingdingheng then reported the day's events to Jiang He. Jiang He looked down, casually picking up a piece of green vegetable, and slowly began. Has this place become somewhere anyone can enter? He didn't look at Mingdingheng or Director Chen, but both of them dared not lift their heads. Only after Jiang He finished eating and went upstairs did Director Chen turn to Mingdingheng. How will you enter Dongwu later on? Mingdingheng had originally planned to ask Yu Hongyi to recommend him for a registration spot. There's another recruitment next year, Mingdingheng frowned. Bai Lian got back a bit late, and the 2 little old men, Lance and Jai Heng, hadn't yet rested. Jai Heng was tidying up Lance's room, which used to be Jai Sheajun's. Grandfather, my desk mate wants to record a video for you, Bai Lian said, while administering acupuncture to Lance. After finishing, she spoke with Jai Heng. A video about embroidery, it shouldn't take long. Do you want to do it? Lance was sitting in a chair, very eager to speak but didn't dare. Jai Heng put away his needlework. A video? It'll be posted online, a short video, Bai Lian described simply, then pulled over a chair and sat down. It will let more people see the embroidery, see your craftsmanship. Hearing this, Jiang He fell silent. "I'll think about it." This was what Bai Lian had anticipated. She could tell that Jiang He seemed to have his worries, so at the time, she didn't agree on Jiang He's behalf to Pu Ziohen. Bai Lian didn't try to persuade Jiang He further, just waiting on the side for Lance's acupuncture time, when she decided to check her phone and saw a WeChat message. "Dog friend, sharing a new song with you. Dog friend, I won't allow anyone to not have heard this. Dog friend, http://link." Bai Lian clicked on it. The new song, Gambling with Liquor, had just been released by Cool Bear. Bai Jian, 6, scrolling down, she saw a message from Sister Xin. "Do you have a Weibo? Fans are asking for it." With that, Sister Xin sent a screenshot. Bai Lian clicked on it, and it was all asking for Bai Jian's Weibo. "Bai Jian, I don't go online." On the other end of the phone, Sister Xin wasn't in Xiangcheng. She had already rushed back to Time Media to handle the contract matter concerning Yan Lu. After receiving Bai Lian's message, she opened Weibo and reported back to the eager online community. Yan Lu didn't have an assistant, only her as the agent, so most questions from netizens were addressed to her. When Sister Xin entered Weibo, it took her a minute to load. The hottest trending topic was still the full cast news of Gambling with Liquor. The songwriting and composition were explosive. In recent years, with traffic-driven music dominating, fewer were seriously pursuing music. This song, created by an obscure star and a low-profile composer/arranger, cut through the traffic-dominated music scene and carved out a bloody path. With such lyrics and composition, how did Bai Lian write it? Sister Xin immediately saw a top-rated comment. "Honestly, this song reminds me of Bai Xianjun." "I think so too. So when can the great god Bai Jian release a new song?" Speaking of Bai Xianjun, it seems she hasn't released any new songs or poems for a long time, crying. Forgive the comment above, signals in the underworld are weak. Bai Xianjun had many fan-made songs, but this was the first to be accepted by the majority of fans. Sister Xin wanted to laugh seeing the comments below, replying to the inquiries about Bai Jian's Weibo. "I asked for you. God Bai Jian said he doesn't go online, sighs." This comment was quickly highlighted by the fans. "Woo-woo-woo, are there still people nowadays who don't go online? He must be a highly respected elder." The masses were enlightened. "Will he still write songs later?" 2587 likes. "Please help contact the master. I beg the god to please release more songs." Nowadays, pop songs lack quality. I've been listening to songs from more than a decade ago. Gambling with Liquor is the best I've heard in recent years. 12,474 likes. All in agreement. Bai Lian might or might not continue composing. Xinji doesn't know. She plans to find time to ask. She knows Bai Lian loves to learn, but for the gift of songwriting, Xinji doesn't want her to waste it. She opens Yan Lu's Weibo, and the followers had grown to 4 million. From morning till night, all major video platforms and media had been looping Yan Lu's songs. Time Media urgently called Xinji back to amend the contract, and she felt tears welling up in her eyes. After so many years in the circle, Yan Lu had finally made it. Xiangcheng Hospital. There's nothing else showing up on the film and the CBC. The doctor prescribed some medicine to Suen. "No other problems?" Jai Mulin stood to one side, frowning, but he's been having frequent headaches recently. The doctor looked at the examination report and finally raised his head. "Mr. Su needs to rest more. Xiangcheng medical resources are limited. If you are not reassured, you may go to a higher-level hospital for examination." "Oh, right." The doctor suddenly remembered something. "I have a patient similar to Mr. Su. It doesn't affect daily life much, but there may be some impact on memory. Does Mr. Su have a lot of forgetfulness now?" Suen sat in his chair. "It's okay." Besides the headaches, he had no other symptoms. They left the consultation room. Jai Mulin went to get the medicine, and after getting the medicine, she came back with a worried look. "Let's find a time to go back to Jiangjing Hospital for another check. Xiangcheng just can't keep up with everything." It's time to go back. Things in Xiangcheng were on the right track, and Su En and Jai Mulin's wedding was imminent. He smiled. "We still need to plan the wedding. I wonder if Alien will come." He wasn't very concerned about his health condition. After all, it was just occasional headaches, a minor issue. Compared to this, he was more curious about whether Bai Lian would attend his and Jai Mulan's wedding in Jiangjing. Her! Jai Mulan was momentarily lost in thought. She hardly exchanged a word with Bai Lian now. She wanted to ease the tension between them, but every time she tried to talk, Bai Lian would ignore her. Jai Mulan thought of what Mrs. Su had said about the Yu family. What about the Yu family matter? Su En's car was parked at the hospital entrance. Upon hearing Jai Mulan bring up the Yu family, he shook his head. Don't mention that to Alien. I've already refused my mother on that. Indeed, Jai Mulan actually thought the Yu family sounded quite good, but Bai Lian's current temperament was too prickly, not suitable for a larger family. Her kind of personality isn't suited for a big family. Su En got into the back seat. As he listened to Jai Mulan's words, he glanced at her. In recent days, he had learned some things. Bai Lian's behavior towards Jai Mulan and the rest of the Jai family members was not the same. The Bai Lian in front of Jai Heng and Jai Shaojun was different from the Bai Lian in front of Jai Mulan. When confronting Jai Mulan, Bai Lian was always sharp and prickly, not speaking properly. But the Bai Lian that Su En knew was an extremely cultured and big-picture person, even though sometimes. Su En smiled to himself. Sometimes Bai Lian really had a bad temper. There were a few times Su En felt like he was going to be gobbled up by Bai Lian. As he chuckled to himself, Su En couldn't help but press his temples, feeling a headache, and he leaned back in his seat. You should rest, said Jai Mulan anxiously as she helped him massage his temples. Friday, after school in the afternoon. The chemistry teacher rolled up his book and didn't leave, instead watching Bai Lian as she slowly packed her bag without moving. Only when Bai Lian leisurely finished packing did he cough and say with a stern face, Student Bai. Wang Qi, together with Pu Ziohen and the entertainment committee members, wanted to laugh, but facing the aloof chemistry teacher, they dared not. Teacher, Bai Lian said, obediently standing in front of the chemistry teacher with her bag in hand. The chemistry teacher nodded coldly. You know there's a monthly exam tomorrow, right? He said no more. I know, Bai Lian nodded. She had been studying chemistry and biology together recently. The chemistry teacher placed his hands behind his back, observing Bai Lian subtly before leaving her with two detached words. Good luck. After he left, Pu Ziohen dared to speak. Alien, honestly, don't you think the chemistry teacher's back looks so lonely? I was just about to say that, but didn't dare. Wang Qi raised his hand. So, how's your chemistry? Pu Ziohen whispered to Bai Lian, having made a bet. Do you have a chance to surpass Ning the genius in the total score? Bai Lian glanced at Pu Ziohen and raised an eyebrow. What do you think? Pu Ziohen. How could she possibly guess something about the genius? The group chattered their way to the school gate. Wang Qi immediately noticed Sister Xin standing at the school entrance. Sister Xin. He was somewhat turning into a fan of Yan Lu. Zhang Shi's, who was in prison, had heard this news, and last time even had Bai Lian bring a simple note to Wang Qi, praising his good taste. Sister Xin was also very touched by this lively group of young boys and girls. She greeted them with a smile. These are the CDs for the bet. Sister Xin handed two carefully wrapped CDs to Bai Lian after greeting everyone, and one of these is for Dean Jian. To Sister Xin, Dean Jian was a respected, venerable artist. Sister Xin didn't dare ask for his contact information, nor did she expect Yan Lu to cozy up to Dean Jian, considering the difference in their social circles. She let Bai Lian relay everything related to Dean Jian. Okay, Bai Lian took the CDs. She took out her phone to ask for Dean Jian's address. Miss Bai, Sister Xin walked with the group toward the exit. Have you ever thought about continuing to write lyrics and compose music? Like writing songs for professional singers. There are many singers in the circle with good voices, but average composing talent. Noticing Wang Qi's gaze, Sister Xin paused. She remembered Wang Qi once said the principal would hang himself on her doorstep. Then she explained, I just regret Miss Bai's talent. The music circle really lacks composers like Miss Bai, and I just hope Miss Bai will note down any inspiration she gets without affecting her studies. Sister Xin had no doubt that if Bai Lian entered the composing scene, the music industry would be shaken. Bai Lian's house still had a guzheng, and her fingers idly spun the CD in her hand. Suddenly turning her head, she looked at Sister Zin and said leisurely, "That Chi from before, is he a singer?" "Yes, he's currently collaborating with Manzai," Sister Zin nodded, not very keen on mentioning Chi right now. Then, Bai Lian squinted her eyes, looking mischievous in the light of the setting sun, and said with a careless smile, "Does Yanlu have an interest in developing a sideline as a singer?" Sister Zin stared at Bai Lian, stunned. This was really playing big. "Miss Bai, your meaning is?" After successive encounters with Chi and Manzai, Sister Zin felt the entertainment circle was just like that. Chi, having met the more popular Manzai, backhandedly trampled on Yanlu while soaring high in her career, and for Yanlu to encounter the likes of Bai Lian and Zhang Shai's was good fortune. But now, Miss Bai is about to deify Yanlu. Bai Lian had already spotted Jiang He at the intersection, her sharpness subdued, once again appearing indolent. "If she wants to grow, I can give it a try." Then she casually waved at Sister Zin and picked up Jiang He, who was squatting on the ground. Ming Dingheng was on a call. Seeing Bai Lian, he ended the call abruptly. "Miss Bai, where to?" "Calligraphy Association." She lifted Jiang He into the car. Ming Dingheng drove towards the Calligraphy Association. "Sister Zin," Wang Qi boldly called out to her. "Ah," Sister Zin was still standing there. She snapped back to reality. "I'll treat you guys to a meal another day. I have to find Yanlu." Yanlu was still shooting in Xiangcheng, and Sister Zin decided to go tell her about this in person. Calligraphy Association. Jian He was soothing Qiu Zuzhang. "Teacher Qiu, please be gentler with her. Don't be so hot-tempered. Take a break, I've got this." Bai Lian sat down at a corner of the 8 immortal table, pouring a cup of tea for Qiu Zuzhang, her legs propped up as she flipped through the accounts. Not far off, Jian He was gently explaining a question to Qiu Zuzhang's granddaughter. Jiang He ran over to watch and then sat back down next to Bai Lian, shocked, taking a sip of the water Bai Lian had poured for him. "What's wrong?" Bai Lian rubbed his head. Jiang He shook his head silently, quite dumbfounded. A minute later, Jian He's gentle voice gradually became frenetic. "Let me explain it to you one more time. 110 and 14, add them together and it's 14. So 110 and 16 added together, how much is that?" 14. "How much?" Jian He, who was usually composed and poised, began to lose his cool. 10 plus 6, Jian He. "Right, 110 and 16, how much should that be? Think again, think hard, baby." 10. Bai Lian quietly listened, a vein starting to throb on her forehead. Sometimes she felt Jiang Fulai was too harsh on Tang Ming and the others. Putting herself in their shoes, when Jiang Fulai was teaching Tang Ming and the others, the difficulty must have been similar to Jian He teaching this baby. She thought, Jiang Fulai. 10 plus 5 equals 15, both of them failed to understand. Jiang Fulai repeated coldly, "Ning Zio got it. Tang Ming, but why isn't it 14? Jiang Fulai, Tang academician, Tang Ming, teacher Jiang Fulai. "I wouldn't dare. I'm off to file your patent application." She suddenly felt like she had to sometimes understand young Master Jiang's predicament. Qiu Zuzhang's hand pressed against the table, about to stand up. Bai Lian snapped back to her senses, hurriedly stopping him. "Teacher Qiu, where's our seminar this week?" "We've got 2 new teachers." Qiu Zuzhang, holding his teacup, calmed down and discussed business with Bai Lian. "Jian He said you were interested in the martial arts hall next door. There have been quite a few people coming to them these past few days." "Quite a few?" Bai Lian was surprised. Qiu Zuzhang nodded. "They're planning a tourism-exclusive route here. Many people want to buy their property." The tourist route was planned from the train station to the gate on Purist Street, from the west of the city all the way to the east. The Calligraphy Association was owned by the state, but the martial arts hall was private property with a large land area that drew much attention. Bai Lian looked toward the direction of the martial arts hall, pondering that the chances of reopening it seemed even greater now. She closed the file, took out her phone. The hall's owner hadn't contacted her. She glanced at her messages. It was a reply from Dean Jian. "Dean Jian, you don't need to mail it, Dean Jian. Just give me the address. I'll collect it myself, Bai Jian. Bai Jian. Wait till I get into Jiangjing University next year. I'll bring it to you, Dean Jian." What if you don't get in? Bai Lian looked at Dean Jian's message, then directly took a screenshot and sent it to Jiang He, without adding any other words. The young master didn't reply. At 7 o'clock, Bai Lian took Jiang He back home. Just as they left the Calligraphy Association's gateway, they encountered the former Secretary General who had just arrived at the entrance of the Martial Arts Hall. Seeing Bai Lian come out, he paused, his mood quite good. "Miss Bai, long time no see." Zhou Jian didn't mind Bai Lian's attitude at all. His lips curled into a smile, but it had a hint of chill. "I was wondering why Miss Bai was so fiery-tempered. Turns out the Su family is involved." After speaking, he stepped into the Martial Arts Hall. Bai Lian raised an eyebrow upon hearing him mention the Su family. Jiang He tugged at the hem of Bai Lian's school uniform. Bai Lian looked up and saw Jiang He parking his car at the intersection. He leaned against the car door in a casual stance, talking on his phone. His eyes slightly downturned beneath the streetlight, casting a vague silhouette, like a lone, unapproachable bloom on a high ridge. Bai Lian temporarily set aside the matter with the Secretary General and walked over. When he saw Bai Lian and Jiang He come out, he spoke softly and then ended the call. Jiang He looked at Bai Lian, his face stern. "Who?" Bai Lian was momentarily taken aback. She remembered that Jiang He typically wrapped up his weekend work on Fridays. It took her a moment to remember that he was probably asking about the matter with Dean Jian. "It's Dean Jian from the Music Academy." Bai Lian sighed softly, wishing she hadn't sent it if she knew he would hurry back. "Sent it to you for fun." Jiang He mulled over which Dean Jian it could be. "Heh." The dean of Jiangjing Music Academy at this moment hugged his teacup and sneezed, muttering to himself, "It's time to wear a down jacket, can't afford to catch a cold." Jiang He opened the car door and let Bai Lian get in. After she was in, he casually tossed Jiang He into the back seat, utterly indifferent. Bai Lian fastened her seat belt and watched Jiang He, who was opening the driver's door. "Just have a listen," she said. Jiang He nodded in agreement. "Oh." Bai Lian slowly pulled out her phone and glanced at it for a while, then said softly, "I am definitely going to apply to Jiangjing University." There was a statue of her teacher there. If she went there again, she hoped to meet him still as his proudest student. Jiang He turned to look at her. Bai Lian's entire face was hidden in the shadows, her eyes downturned, her expression indiscernible. Jiang He started the car. "Then are you going to study quantum mechanics or dark matter?" "Ah." Bai Lian couldn't keep up with his train of thought, her mind suddenly jumping from Liang Ziyuan to Dean Ma. "Quantum mechanics, I guess. Why are you studying dark matter?" Bai Lian lowered the car window, resting her right elbow lazily on it, and turned to look at him. It was the first time Jiang He spoke about this. "When I was reading, I found that the gravity of matter is nowhere near sufficient to sustain the rotation of galaxies, which is very paradoxical, and everyone was suspecting that dark matter might be a higher dimensional presence. Other countries are also researching it, and without research, there is no development, which means that humanity's civilization has reached its end. If a species' civilization reaches its end, it's a terrifying prospect. Whether it's dark matter, quantum mechanics, or superconductivity, the next step in the evolution of civilization requires people to continually try and err. Their conversation shifted from Jiangjing University to dark matter and quantum mechanics, while Jiang He hugged a large white cabbage pillow in the back seat, listening attentively. Halfway through the journey, Jiang He called. Bai Lian answered. Jiang He asked when she would be home, and after inquiring, he heard a faint sound of guzheng from the other end of the phone. "Is that the guy surnamed Jiang?" Here, at Jiang He's place, Jiang He was Zio. Jiang He was that guy surnamed Jiang. Bai Lian reclined against the backrest. Jiang He was silent for quite some time, having hinted about Jiang He's family situation before. Both Jiang He and Jiang He's parents had passed away early. About 5 minutes later, he said sternly, "Then let him come too." Now living close to Jiang He, Jai Shaojun had come over with food to see him. When Bai Lian, Jiang He, and Jiang He arrived, Jiang He was in the yard playing gamoku with Lance, discussing plans to go fishing the next day. "Lance, wearing a floral jacket, was very excited and talked about catching several fish. Jai Shaojun was cooking in the kitchen. Shen Qing had mostly recovered and was helping Jai Shaojun by washing the vegetables. Seeing Bai Lian return, she placed the washed vegetables next to Jai Shaojun. "Alien, you're back!" Ziojiang. Shen Qing was now quite at ease with Jiang He. "Auntie," Jiang He, draped in his black coat under the incandescent lights of the large courtyard. His eyes weren't as icy as usual. He seemed very polite at that moment. Jiang He looked up, staring at Jiang He somewhat dumbfounded. Lance had made rapid progress in his chess skills, and from being invincible, Jai Heng now couldn't win a single game. He beckoned to Jiang He, offering his seat. "Gamoku, do you know how to play?" Jiang He nodded in surprise. "You're up." Lance, in his triumph, confident it wasn't Jiang he was facing, declared, Okay. Jiang He casually took a white piece. Lance picked up a black piece, glanced at Jiang He and boasted, "Bring it on." Jiang He watched from the side, amused by Lance's confidence. In just 30 seconds, Lance's smile at the corners of his mouth froze, and he took back the black piece. Start over. After another minute, he was done. Of that minute, 55 seconds were spent by Lance thinking. "Come on." Lance suddenly stood up, calling noisily, picking up Jiang He and making him play against Jiang He. Jiang He. With just a casual glance from Jiang He, he allowed Jiang He to go first. Jiang He silently made a move. These two didn't need to think while playing chess. The game was decided in 10 seconds. Lance and Jai Heng squatted on the side, both looking at Jiang He, who had lost in just 7 moves. Lance murmured to Jai Heng, "Turns out you're the real chatterbox." Jai Heng, suddenly burdened with a huge pot, started to doubt himself too. After that, every day he'd find someone in the alley to play chess with, and the alley folk were beaten until they doubted their life choices. 20 minutes later, after receiving a message from Jiang He, Director Chen brought over Jiang He's tobacco along. Director Chen posted on his moments. "My time is up. JPG Mingding Heng liked the post." The next day, Saturday. Chinese in the morning, math and English in the afternoon. The Xiancheng No. 1 middle school monthly exam didn't follow the same schedule as the college entrance exam. It was past 5 when the English exam ended. Tang Ming was among a group from class 15, discussing the math problem with Ning Xiao. "Do you understand what they're talking about?" Wang Qi quietly asked the others. The math problem wasn't too difficult this time, but Wang Qi hadn't gotten to the last question. Yang Lin glanced at Wang Qi without saying a word. Pu Ziohan didn't look at Wang Qi, merely uttered "oh" in a sudden realization. So that's how it is. So X is just being compared with 3 plus in the end. When it is greater than or equal to -3, X is greater than 0, so the original function is monotonically increasing, right? Tang Ming looked at Pu Ziohan with admiration. "Right, there are 3 zeros. The first question is very simple." Bai Lian walked at the very end, messaging Yan Lu on her phone. When Yan Lu called Bai Lian, she was in an exam, and since the call didn't go through, Yan Lu left her a message regarding her song. Since Bai Lian was writing a song for Yan Lu, this involved a contract and the record company. Time Entertainment had a sub-label record company, which included in Qi, but Sister Zin did not plan to sign with them. Guessing Yan Lu was currently filming, Bai Lian didn't call back, but sent Yan Lu a WeChat message. 1. Yan Lu has just released her new song and is focused on filming right now, so she's not in a hurry for her next song. Meanwhile, hospital. Jai Mulan's face was pale as she followed the ambulance down, jogging to keep up with the emergency doctor. "Doctor, how is he doing?" Did the patient suddenly faint? Without any warning signs? The doctor put away his stethoscope, asking about the symptoms. Jai Mulan nodded, managing to remain clear-headed in such a moment. He suddenly fainted at the construction site. Before this, he'd occasionally suffer from headaches, but had no other symptoms. As she spoke, she handed the headache medication Su En was taking to the doctor. The doctor looked down at the medicine, which was for headaches. Nurses hurriedly pushed Su En into the emergency room. Blood was drawn, an electroencephalogram was done, and a head CT scan. Half an hour later. The doctor came out with furrowed brows. carrying the results of the blood routine test and electroencephalogram. Assistant Su En and Jai Mulin gathered around. "Doctor, how is the patient?" "He's still unconscious." The doctor, who had never seen such a complex case before, handed the results to Jai Mulin. "What's odd is that we can't find the source. Has the patient eaten anything unusual recently?" Assistant Su En, wiping sweat from his forehead, knew he couldn't bear the responsibility if something happened to Su En on his watch. He calmly recalled the recent meals. Only ordinary food. "We've already called for a consult with specialists from neurology and internal medicine." The doctor was clueless, and a nurse informed him that the neurology specialist had arrived. The medical team all gathered in the emergency room. Su En's heartbeat had stabilized, and the electroencephalogram showed some abnormalities, but he remained unconscious. When they came out again, the emergency room doctor looked toward Jai Mulin. "I suggest you transfer to a superior hospital." "What?" Jai Mulin had assumed Su En was simply exhausted or had a blood pressure issue. She didn't expect the hospital's statement to be so serious, causing her to slump. She was somewhat at a loss. Su En's assistant took out his cell phone, ready to make contact with Jiang. The neurology specialist nearby recognized Su En's assistant and the group, knowing they were regular VIP visitors. They often came to see Jai Sheajun. "Our hospital just upgraded to the latest diagnostic equipment last month," the neurologist explained to the assistant. "Many people from Baikeng come here for checkups. We just used the new equipment to assess the patient's condition, and we suspect." "What?" Jai Mulin looked up, sensing an ominous feeling. The assistant also looked at the doctor's name tag and then said, "Dr. Lee, please go on." "This is an international neurotoxin," Dr. Lee started calmly. "In this situation, even if you were to take him to Jiangxing, it wouldn't help. The neurotoxin is banned in our country. Only certain labs abroad have the antidote. If you know someone overseas, you need to contact them quickly. The longer you wait, the greater the damage to the patient's brain and body." "Neurotoxin?" Jai Mulin and the assistant exchanged a glance, both seeing shock in each other's eyes. A foreign neurotoxin? Both of them were hearing this term for the first time. Foreign laboratories. The assistant realized instantly that this was not an issue he could handle. He took out his cell phone and called Jiangxing. He didn't call Madame Su, but instead he called Su Weniao, who was studying at Jiangxing University. In such a situation, even Madame Su might be helpless, but Su Weniao had numerous friends studying abroad. Possibly they could find a solution. "Young master," the assistant got straight to the point while explaining the whole situation. "We're not sure what the toxin is. Do you know someone overseas who knows about an antidote?" Jiangxing University study room. In this season, Jiangxing was much colder than Xiancheng. Su Weniao put on a cotton jacket to take the call, wearing only a white undershirt. His usual composed expression vanished. A foreign laboratory? What was needed now was a connection to classmates studying biochemical medicine abroad. Su Weniao knew many people, and a few of them from affluent families were studying pharmacology abroad. When he mentioned the neurotoxin, those classmates hesitated for a moment, then gave a wry smile. "Su bro, as far as I know there aren't more than 2 labs that could produce such an antidote, and I'm just a sophomore. I can't even enter our school's lab. You're expecting too much from me." Nearly all the friends in the pharmaceutical industry gave the same answer. Su Weniao took a deep breath and called Assistant Su En back, instructing him to transfer Su En back to Jiangxing immediately. Whether or not they could find an antidote, the medical conditions in Jiangxing were much better than in Xiancheng. Xiancheng Hospital. Upon receiving the transfer news, the assistant immediately gave instructions and finally turned to Jai Mulin. "The project in Xiancheng is ongoing. I can't leave. Miss Jai, the trip back to Jiangxing will depend on you." "We're really going back to Jiangxing." Jai Mulin tried to calm herself, yet her voice still trembled. His condition. "The toxin is banned in the country, and the young master says it's only available internationally, in maybe 1 or 2 labs." The assistant shook his head, his voice somber. "The only option is to transfer back to Jiangxing first." "If it's banned in the country, then why?" Mulin began, then suddenly remembered Purist Street was next to the national border. That place was a mix of all sorts where anything could be found. Her voice trailed off abruptly. The phone rang. Bai Lian took it out and answered. "Your grandfather is asking why you haven't arrived yet." It was Bai Lian's voice. Bai Lian was startled, then looked down at the phone and realized it was Su En's. "He can't make it right now," Bai Lian spoke with a hoarse voice, quietly saying. "We have to go back to Jiangjing first." Bai Lian's brow furrowed slightly as she looked calmly towards the door, her voice cold and slow. "What's wrong with him?" Jai family mansion. Bai Lian hung up the phone, her brows slightly furrowed as she pondered for a minute before taking Lance away. "What's happening?" Lance was playing chess with Jiang He. Bai Lian's expression was solemn. She remembered the Zhou giant she had encountered that day, feeling as if there was a thread in her mind, but she couldn't grasp it just yet. Seeing Bai Lian's expression, Lance did not dare to speak carelessly. Bai Lian's phone call was unclear, so Bai Lian went straight to the hospital. 20 minutes later, outside Xiangcheng Hospital, the ambulance was already prepared. When Bai Lian and Lance arrived at the ward, Assistant Su En was discussing the patient transfer with the doctor. Seeing Bai Lian, the assistant turned around with a grave face. "Miss Bai." Jiangjing Hospital had said it was a neurotoxin, and no hospital was willing to take the case. Su Weniao was still searching. Therefore, Assistant Su En and Bai Lian both had rather grim expressions. Bai Lian didn't look up at Bai Lian but only stared down at her hands. "I shouldn't have let him come back." "Neurotoxin?" Bai Lian finally heard the diagnosis. She tilted her head to Lance and asked, "Have you heard of it?" Assistant Su En also knew that Lance was the doctor who performed surgery on Shen Qing. Hearing Bai Lian's inquiry, the assistant also turned his gaze towards Lance. "I know," Lance replied in English. Though his Chinese was good, he had been listening to the conversation, and he took the medical record from Dr. Li's hand to flip through it. "The MTR lab has an antidote." Finally, a familiar term was heard. Dr. Li looked excitedly towards Lance. "Yes, Dr. Lance is right. MTR definitely has the antidote." Bai Lian and the assistant had never heard of this laboratory. Both were somewhat stunned. "What's MTR?" "The largest medical laboratory overseas." Dr. Li pushed the glasses back onto the bridge of his nose and explained to the two. "There you can find many experimental medical equipment, medicinal chemicals, and the latest medical research. If they don't have the neurotoxin antidote, then it's certain no other place will." Bai Lian and the assistant found this all quite bewildering. "Can you get it?" Bai Lian asked Lance, dressed in a plain white long dress, her demeanor calm and poised. The assistant looked at Bai Lian and also calmed down quickly. Remembering Su Weniao's words, he smiled wryly. "Miss Bai, it's not so easy to get drugs from that kind of laboratory." "I can," Lance frowned. "But there are two problems. One is how to bring it back, and the second is which neurotoxin is actually in his system. Different neurotoxins require different antidotes. If the MTR lab doesn't have the neurotoxin that Su En has, they would have to look elsewhere." The assistant looked at Lance in shock. He had always known Lance was good at surgery, but his impression of the people Bai Lian knew was just that. How could Dr. Lance obtain the antidote that even Su Weniao couldn't find, and so effortlessly? Different from the assistant, Dr. Li in the room had seen Jiang He bring over the equipment from the MTR lab. He was not surprised. "We have the poison analysis from Mr. Su's body." Dr. Li turned and brought out the report. "As long as we find the original toxin and analyze it with a mass spectrometer, we can find out where it came from." A nurse listening nearby reminded them, "But our country doesn't have that type of toxin." Dr. Li nodded and then said, "We may not have it in the country, but there should be a place in Xiangcheng that does." Assistant Su En caught on to what Dr. Li meant, taking in a sharp breath. Baxter Street? He had previously suspected that the toxin in Su En's body came from Baxter Street, and even started to wonder if it was the doing of Mr. Liu. A big shot from Baxter Street. Dr. Li nodded slightly. "Dr. Li," Assistant Su En smiled wryly, "what you're suggesting, isn't that as good as not saying anything at all?" Putting aside what Baxter Street was, whether they could go there was another matter entirely. Even if they did go, where would they find a neurotoxin? Such toxins couldn't be bought without special connections. Bai Lian, hearing about Banished Street for the second time, vaguely understood its nature and took out her phone to call Ren Qian. Ren Qian now answered their calls quickly, his tone slightly surprised. "Miss Jai." Seeing Bai Lian make a call, assistant Su En finally remembered this fact. The Su family had no roots in Xiancheng, but the Ren family had deep local ties. Banished Street did not belong to Xiancheng, nor to the jurisdiction within. Each time they came and went, they needed to secure a pass in advance. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, that was Ren Qian's fastest speed. "Thank you," Bai Lian hung up the phone. By her side, Assistant Su En and Dr. Li both heard their conversation. Their sinking hearts still hadn't eased. Whether or not they could find the needed toxin on Banished Street was another matter. Moreover, a place like Banished Street would require full armament to enter. Assistant Su En looked towards Bai Lian, pondered for a moment, and then said, "Ask Mr. Ren if there are any familiar mercenaries around." Next to them, Bai Lian leaned slightly against the wall. Her brows and eyes carried a faint expression, eyelashes drooping, as she twirled her phone in her right hand, piecing together cause and effect. About 3 minutes later, she looked up at Dr. Li. "Can the mass spectrometer be taken out?" The mass spectrometer was given to the hospital for research by Jiang He. It was seldom used. It would be impossible for anyone else to take it out. But this person was Bai Lian, so there might be a way. "If you need it," Dr. Li put down the examination results in his hands, "I can apply to the hospital director." "Thank you," Bai Lian nodded, gripping her phone. "Are you busy right now?" Dr. Li shook his head. He was essentially working overtime. He had never seen symptoms like Su En's before, so he had stayed to observe his body's data, which would be his academic paper. "Okay," Bai Lian bowed her head, dialing a number on her phone at an unhurried pace. "Bring the mass spectrometer down. I'll be waiting for you at the hospital entrance." Bai Lian walked toward the elevator, pressing the call button and looking back at Assistant Su En. "Did you drive here?" In the corridor's dim light, her face appeared cold and indistinct. It bore an elegance with a hint of rebelliousness. "Yes," Assistant Su En replied instinctively. Ding! The elevator doors opened. Bai Lian walked in, looking up. "Then come with me." At the hospital entrance, the assistant brought the parked car over. Dr. Li, along with several other male doctors, managed to move the mass spectrometer to the hospital's entrance. The mass spectrometer was a bit large, but fortunately, the assistant had driven a minivan that day. After folding down the last row of seats, the mass spectrometer fit just right. Bai Lian sat in the back. Dr. Li sat down in the front passenger seat. "Miss Bai, where are we going?" the assistant asked, looking in the rearview mirror as Bai Lian was looking down at her phone. Bai Lian, with eyes downcast, leisurely opened a vocabulary database. "Straight ahead." Assistant Su En followed the route Bai Lian had given, finding it more and more familiar as they went. Finally, after passing through Purist Street and coming to a bridge, both Assistant Su En and Dr. Li saw the words Banished Street at the end of the bridge and gasped. Miss Bai, Miss Bai?" Assistant Su En's hands and feet became somewhat weak. He and Su En had both heard of such places, especially the bar and auction house. Even international mercenaries didn't fare well there. Dr. Li wasn't in much better shape than the assistant. Both were terrified in their hearts. If they had known Bai Lian intended to direct them here, Assistant Su En wouldn't have dared to come, not even if he were at death's door. "Keep driving." Bai Lian didn't even lift her head, her tone neither cold nor warm. Assistant Su En had no choice but to drive forward. Upon reaching the entrance, they were stopped, and the assistant along with Dr. Li finally let out a sigh of relief. Neither of them had even considered how Bai Lian knew about this place. "Miss Bai, this area requires a pass for entry, and Elder Ren said that the earliest would be tomorrow morning," Assistant Su En explained as he looked in the rearview mirror. "Moreover, our hired help hasn't arrived yet. We better leave first." Dr. Li, trembling with fear, clutched his seatbelt. "Right, we can't even enter now." Bai Lian finally raised her head, but she didn't speak, simply looking ahead. The assistant subconsciously followed Bai Lian's gaze. At the entrance, a young man slowly approached. The young man wasn't old and looked scholarly. Subconsciously, the assistant felt he looked somewhat familiar. The young man just gave a nod to the person guarding the entrance. Before Dr. Li could finish speaking, both he and the assistant were dumbfounded to see the gate slowly rising. Bai Lian put away her phone, lightly tapped the case and said, "Aren't we going in?" "Ah!" The assistant snapped back to reality as a car honked behind them. At this moment, there was no room for backing down, nor for wondering why the gate was raised. He looked away from Zioki and hurriedly started the car to drive inside. The Qinglong bar was right at the entrance. Bai Lian instructed assistant Su En to park the car on the vacant lot opposite. The Qinglong bar, like the auction house, had a very conspicuous sign. The name Azure Dragon in 2 languages was arrogantly hung on the side, each character as tall as a floor, shimmering with multicolored lights. Bai Lian got out of the back seat, stood in place, staring at the illuminated Azure Dragon characters, appearing somewhat silent. "Miss Bai!" Assistant Su En came to his senses, quickly turned off the engine, and carefully got out of the car. Then he looked up at the legendary Qinglong bar. A feeling of alarm rose in his heart. He had heard Su En mention the Qinglong bar several times, but he had never been to Bachter Street before. It was chaotic here. Unless one understood the power dynamics of Bachter Street, even Su En wouldn't dare say that one could come out safely. Just then, about a dozen men in black suddenly appeared at the Qinglong bar. The leader was a blond man. He glanced left and right and then headed straight towards Bai Lian. "Those are the Azure Dragon's men, one of the 3 major powers of Bachter Street. What are they up to?" Assistant Su En swallowed, recalling what Su En had told him. The previous owner who had taken over the territory, Mr. Liu, had some connections with the Qinglong bar. That's why even Ren Kaiyan feared him, and Su En had tried to meet Mr. Liu several times without success. Some connections could be so influential, let alone the group in front of them who were from the Qinglong bar itself. Assistant Su En felt his heart pound in his throat. "Miss Bai, do you think they're coming toward us?" The smell of blood on each of them was strong, giving off a profound sense of oppression. Even the usually uninvolved Dr. Li realized that these people were no ordinary folks. His legs shook as he gripped Assistant Su En's arm. He was more panicked than Assistant Su En. He was just an ordinary doctor. Before this, he had only heard about Bachter Street from the elderly, and now he was faced with people from the Qinglong bar. Dr. Li watched the blonde head straight towards Bai Lian without deviating from his path. Assistant Su En also saw that the blonde man was heading for Bai Lian. He turned his head, just about to speak to Bai Lian. Bai Lian shoved her phone back into her pocket and walked forward, only glancing at Mao Kun. "I told you to find 2 people to move things. Why did you bring out so many?" 10 bodyguards parted to create a path for her in an instant. Mao Kun touched his head. He didn't know what Bai Lian was up to. He originally thought she needed help moving some heavy equipment and was worried there weren't enough hands. If Zioki hadn't notified him that Bai Lian had arrived, he would have continued rounding up more people. Bai Lian continued walking towards the bar. "The thing is in the trunk. Bring it in." With a wave of his hand, Mao Kun gave the order. The black-clad bodyguards opened the trunk and spotted the mass spectrometer inside. "Gentlemen," these bodyguards had obviously never seen a mass spectrometer before. The device looked delicate and complex, making them hesitant to touch it. "Can we move it just like this?" The bodyguard's hand was still on the rear door of the car. With their intimidating looks, they politely inquired of Dr. Li, who was wearing a white lab coat and a name badge on his chest. "Ah!" A cool breeze blew by, and Dr. Li finally snapped back to reality. "Just don't touch any buttons and carry it in like this." With the go-ahead given, the black-clad bodyguards sprang into action. Screens, analyzers, colorimeters. Each bodyguard carefully carried a piece inside. Concerned about damaging the delicate instrument, they moved with slow, cautious steps. "Gentlemen," the bodyguard once again slightly turned toward Su En's assistant and Dr. Li, gesturing, "After you. Mr. Mao invites the 2 of you inside." Su En's assistant walked with an uncertain gait. It was probably the first time someone had referred to him with such respect. And the ones showing him respect were Bachter Street's bodyguards. Even Su En's assistant, who had accompanied Su En through countless major events, couldn't believe it. He exchanged a look with Dr. Li, and they both walked inside with their heads buzzing. Dr. Li slightly tilted his head, looking at Su En's assistant with an obvious question. What exactly does Miss Bai do for a living? Su En's assistant was even more baffled. His knowledge about Bai Lian was limited, and his mind was in a whirl too. How would he know? The interior of the bar was spacious, with 3 floors. The first floor was shrouded in smoke, lit by multicolored lights, with a crowd circling the central stage. People in the corners, smoking and drinking, looked up for a moment when they noticed a group of bodyguards passing by. Fortunately, there was no one brazen enough to cause trouble. The bodyguards, escorting the equipment and Su En's assistant and Dr. Li, made their way to the 3rd floor, which was quiet and had thick carpets spread along the U-shaped corridor. Only waiters pushing carts with drinks passed by, pausing to let the bodyguards go first when they saw them. The bodyguards led Su En's assistant and Dr. Li straight to the private room at the end of the corridor. Although it was just the 3rd floor, the bar owner still gave the room a very auspicious number, 8888. As the door swung open, they saw Bai Lian standing with her back to them by the window. The giant crystal chandelier overhead was lit, revealing the interior of the room without a shadow of concealment. The bodyguards gently placed the items on the coffee table, and only then did Bai Lian turn slightly, lowering her head to look at the mass spectrometer on the floor. Bai Lian took it casually, biting it in her mouth, and Mao Kun lit it for her with due respect as she tilted her head slightly. Mass spectrometer. Bai Lian, in a very ladylike long dress, pristine white with elegant vines embroidered by Jiang He, her long hair loosely coiled into a bun, held a slender cigarette in her hand, a striking contrast. As the two conversed, Su En's assistant and Dr. Li sat stiffly on the couch, listening in a daze, until Bai Lian looked towards Dr. Li and politely inquired, "Dr. Li, you should be able to use the mass spectrometer to analyze toxins, right?" "Ah." Dr. Li came back to his senses. "Yes, but you need to have the nerve toxins." Bai Lian casually flicked the cigarette ash into the ashtray. The thin veil of smoke obscured her eyes and brows as she looked at Mao Kun with a slight turn of her head. Yet she said nothing. Mao Kun made a phone call with his mobile. Halfway through the call, he turned to Dr. Li. "He's asking which nerve toxin you need." "He's asking which nerve toxin he wants." Dr. Li's mind momentarily froze. Was this something he could just have if he wanted it? So nerve toxins are as common as cabbage, and he could choose. Bai Lian sat on a sofa on the other side, leaning back. "Purchase one of each kind." To identify the source of the toxins, naturally one would need a sample of each type of nerve toxin. "Okay." Mao Kun went downstairs to personally handle the transaction. Such toxins are generally used by international mercenaries to deal with enemies or to apply to their targets, and are not widely circulated. However, some can be found on the black market. Hearing Bai Lian and Mao Kun casually discuss nerve toxins as if they were talking about cabbages, Dr. Li and Su En's assistant, who had just managed to calm themselves, couldn't help their lips twitching again. Both men looked towards Bai Lian with caution. Under the crystal chandelier, her face also appeared enigmatic until... "Epic, epic, epic. The Pleistocene epic." The mechanical female voice emanated from Bai Lian's phone. Taking her time, Bai Lian snuffed out her cigarette. She had left in a hurry that day and didn't bring headphones, so she played the vocabulary audio out loud. After repeating the words several times and memorizing their meanings and spellings, she swiped to the next word. Looking up, she saw Assistant Su and Dr. Li watching her. Bai Lian raised her head. "Am I disturbing you by studying vocabulary?" She was actually studying vocabulary, in Baxter Street at a bar. Unexpected, yet logical, Assistant Su vaguely recalled that Bai Lian was still a high school senior with college entrance exams next year, and Jiang He had mentioned that she was diligent in her studies. Not at all," he replied. "Please continue with your studies." Bai Lian nodded and continued reciting vocabulary, albeit in a softer voice. In less than half an hour, Mao Kun came upstairs with 4 tubes. He arranged them in a row in front of Dr. Li. "Dr. Li, Take a look and see if you can find the neurotoxin you're looking for." Dr. Li stood up, seriously plugged in the mass spectrometer, and began analyzing the components of each bottle. This wasn't something Assistant Sue or people like Mao Kun could assist with. They could only pass things to Dr. Li when he required them. Assistant Sue felt that Mao Kun was much more approachable than the group of black-clad bodyguards and cautiously asked him, "Are you Miss Bai's?" How did Bai Lian make such a friend? He looked quite formidable. Mao Kun smiled at Assistant Sue. "We got to know each other through a fight." His hair dyed blonde. He had the air of a ruffian leader. But having seen Bai Lian many times before, Assistant Sue thought of her only as a senior in high school keen on studying. It wasn't until now that he began to reconcile Jai Mulan's description with Bai Lian. "Is this neurotoxin common in Baxter Street?" Assistant Sue asked, turning to the matter at hand. "Not really," said Mao Kun as he lit a cigarette and squinted his eyes. "But as a bar bodyguard, I often hear the mercenaries bragging that they've just obtained a batch of neurotoxins. You guys are in luck." He glanced at Assistant Sue. Assistant Sue took a deep breath. Indeed, they were lucky. "Thank you." He expressed his sincere gratitude. Yet this person was also a bar bodyguard. Assistant Sue couldn't help taking another look at Mao Kun, not surprised that Azure Dragon Bar had such strong security. Just then, Dr. Li took out a tube of the drug, excitedly stood up. "Found it! This is the one!" He handed the tube of poison to Bai Lian. Bai Lian took it, looking closely at the vial that was labeled entirely in English, CN neurotoxin. She closed the vocabulary app, opened WeChat, and sent a photo to Lance. "Lance, okay, I'll ask around." Having found the source of the poison, everyone took a sigh of relief and headed downstairs. Zioki was mixing drinks at the bar and looked up in surprise when he saw Bai Lian and the others coming out. "Sis, you're not staying a bit longer." "Didn't bring my homework." Bai Lian glanced at Zioki and remembered something. "Are you really not going back to continue high school?" Zioki shook his head. "We'll see." Assistant Sue, standing aside, overheard and took a look at Zioki. The group returned to the hospital. Jai Mulan and Lance were still there. Sue-En still hadn't woken up. If not for the beeping of the heart monitor, one might wonder if he was even breathing. Jai Mulan was beside herself with impatience. She didn't know where Bai Lian and Assistant Sue had gone. Lance sat on a chair to one side, speaking calmly with others only when Bai Lian was present. When she was not, he didn't care who the others were. His stern demeanor made him unapproachable. Even the hospital director dared not disturb Lance. Staff from the medical department came for the third time to ask, "Miss Jai, when do you plan to transfer to Jiangjing? The longer the delay, the greater the damage to the patient's brain." Jai Mulan, her heart in her throat, frantically signed the transfer form they held. "Transfer right now." She had been foolish. How could Bai Lian find an antidote that even Su Weniao had trouble obtaining? The medical department prepared for the transfer. "We're not transferring now." The elevator doors opened, and Assistant Sue rushed out, taking back the transfer form from the nurse's hand and looked at Jai Mulan. Stunned, Jai Mulan gazed at Assistant Sue. "Assistant Sue, you—" "Let's stay in Xiangcheng for now," Assistant Sue interrupted Jai Mulan. Before heading to Baxter Street, Assistant Sue had been only half convinced, but now his trust in Bai Lian was absolute. Jai Mulan was somewhat stunned, always feeling that Assistant Sue's attitude towards Bai Lian had changed again. She couldn't help but look towards Bai Lian. Bai Lian ignored her, passing by to find Dr. Lance. "Does MTR have an antidote for CN?" she asked. Dr. Lance was leisurely flipping through a medical book from Xiangcheng Hospital. Hearing Bai Lian's voice, he finally looked up and spoke in very fluent English. "Yes, I have already had someone call it back." One spoke English, the other Chinese, and yet there was no barrier in their communication. Jai Mulan watched Bai Lian, recalling that Bai Lian had never passed an English test. Could she understand what Dr. Lance was saying? In the meantime, Assistant Sue's cell phone rang once. It was from Su Weniao. Assistant Sue hurriedly stepped outside the ward to answer, speaking with great respect. "Young master." "I contacted Jiangjing Hospital." The voice over the phone, Su Weniao, was too distracted to focus on studying. He was standing in the biting, cold wind, holding car keys and walking outside. "There is a department willing to research it. Where are you now?" Bai Lian took Assistant Sue and Dr. Li away so quickly that the ensuing events were too fantastical. Assistant Sue had only just recovered his senses. He glanced at Bai Lian speaking with Dr. Lance inside the room, then paused. "Young master, I think we might not need to return to Jiangjing after all." "What?" On the phone, Su Weniao stopped in his tracks. Given the overly fantastical description of neurotoxin by his classmate, he had imagined countless possibilities. "My father, he—" "No," Assistant Sue hurried to explain, his expression somewhat complex. "We just got our hands on the CN nerve agent, and we've confirmed the source of Su N's poisoning." He recounted the events from beginning to end. Bai Lian. This was the first time Su Weniao had heard this name, and he was surprised. Aunt Jai's daughter. Su Weniao was focused on scientific research, not very familiar with Baxter Street. "Assistant Su, you need to ensure my father will be better off staying in Xiancheng." Since Su N's life was at stake, Su Weniao dared not take it lightly. The pressure on Assistant Su was also great, but he was willing to believe what he had seen. "Okay." Upon hearing Assistant Su's assurance, Su Weniao slowly said, "I will come to Xiancheng right away." The following day, Xiancheng No. 1 high school had science exams in the morning and was off in the afternoon. The difficulty level of the science comprehensive test wasn't high. Bai Lian completed all the questions she could, and with half an hour remaining before the answer sheets were due, she handed in hers and left. Assistant Su was waiting for her at the school gate. He knew Bai Lian had a test that morning until 11, but he had arrived early to wait for her, and seeing Bai Lian come out half an hour early, he was somewhat surprised. "Miss Bai," Assistant Su greeted her. Bai Lian, carrying her backpack and squinting slightly, said, "You were originally planning to return to Jiangjing, right?" "Yes." "Then," Bai Lian nodded, speaking at a calm pace, "tell everyone that Su En has already returned to Jiangjing." Assistant Su didn't ask why, but nodded in acknowledgement. In fact, he and Su Weniao both knew there was something wrong with Su En this time. Su Weniao's rush to Xiancheng was not only to see Su En, but also to investigate what had happened to him. Just then, a car stopped beside them. The rear door of the vehicle opened, and a person got out. Seeing Bai Lian, he smiled. "Classmate Bai." Assistant Su was slightly surprised to see the elder who suddenly got out of the car. Bai Lian turned slightly, greeting politely. "Principal, have you finished the exam paper?" The principal estimated the time Bai Lian spent on the exam and smiled very tenderly. "Did you do the chemistry part?" The principal had more than once subtly inquired with the chemistry teacher. Logically, with physics and mathematics being so difficult and Bai Lian always scoring full marks, how could she have no marks every time in chemistry? Bai Lian, "I did a bit." "Did a bit?" The principal's eyes lit up. He had studied Bai Lian's papers. Doing it meant she knew how. "Very good, not bad, keep it up. Aim to do a bit more next time." That meant Bai Lian's chemistry was no longer scoring 0. "Okay," Bai Lian nodded. The principal's tone became even gentler. "Next month is the final exam, and it will be a big joint test. Try to solve a few more questions." As they talked, Assistant Su, had the timing been different, would have had a hard time repressing a twitch at the corner of his mouth. So this was the school principal. And then, why was the principal praising her for doing just a bit of the exam? But upon further thought, it made sense. He had heard that Bai Lian was not a good student. Jai Mulan had previously wanted to transfer Bai Lian to Jiangjing private school, but Bai Lian had not agreed. Assistant Su had witnessed Bai Lian studying vocabulary in a bar, working so hard, yet still performing poorly. He sighed, looked down, and pulled out his cell phone to send a message to Su Weniao. "If you have time during this visit, could you help reinforce Miss Bai's learning?" Su Weniao had just arrived in Baikeng, stepping off the plane. "Sure. Does she have any particular goals?" Su Weniao was grateful for Bai Lian's significant help. After the principal had left, Assistant Su carefully weighed his words before tentatively asking Bai Lian, "Miss Bai, which university do you aim to apply for next year?" Bai Lian never concealed her own goals. She watched as the principal left. Upon hearing that, she spoke in a tone as light as a breeze. Jiangjing University. Jiangjing University, huh? Assistant Su nodded as he held his phone, texting Su Weniao a reply, and it wasn't until halfway through that he realized, Jiangjing University. He looked up, bewildered. What? Bai Lian glanced back at Assistant Su, raising her eyebrows. The black of her pupils reflected the sun, languidly, almost like a different person from last night at the bar. Assistant Su was somewhat silent. Nothing. Just remember not to leak that he's still in Xiancheng. That will do, Bai Lian said as she looked off in a direction, bidding farewell to Assistant Su. I've got something urgent. We'll go to the hospital later. She had originally asked Assistant Su to wait for her to go to the hospital together, but Hall Master Jin had suddenly sought her out. All right. Assistant Su followed her gaze. At the entrance of the milk tea shop stood a man, his head slightly lowered, his face unclear, but one could tell from his bearing a sense of cold pride. As if he felt the gaze upon him, he looked up nonchalantly and glanced in this direction. Just one look across the street. The sun was still high above, and Assistant Su shivered uncontrollably. Who is this? Assistant Su rubbed his arms, and when he looked up again, Bai Lian had already entered the milk tea shop with him. Assistant Su took out his phone and reported to Su Weniao. Miss Bai wants to get into Jiangjing University. Su Weniao. Milk tea shop. Jiang He also asked Bai Lian how her exam went. They skipped right over math and physics, focusing only on chemistry and biology. The questions were easy. I did fairly well on biology, Bai Lian said lazily, leaning to one side as she watched Jiang He line up, giving orders skillfully. Get one for Zhang Shai's, too. They were going to see Zhang Shai's first and then head to the Calligraphy Association. Yesterday morning, Bai Lian had her exam, so Jiang He had rescheduled the visitation for today at noon. There were many people buying cakes at this hour. Back room. Kai Yundai, who was just carrying out a bunch of fresh cakes, caught a glimpse of Jiang He, outstanding among the crowd, stumbled and nearly fell over. Master Kai, a young worker from the milk tea shop, quickly steadied him. Are you all right? Huh. Kai Yundai, somewhat in a daze, handed the cakes over. I'm fine. He immediately turned and went back to the kitchen. On his way, he couldn't help but stealthily look back. Jiang He just happened to look over indifferently, and with that emotionless glance, Kai Yundai recoiled as if he had seen a ghost. It really was young Master Jiang. Kai Yundai took off his chef's hat at once, and then his jacket, before taking out his phone to post a friend circle update, just saw a ghost. Director Chen commented with a question mark. After visiting Zhang Shai's, Jiang He and Bai Lian then went to the Calligraphy Association. Bai Lian met with Hall Master Jin first. Jiang He waited for her at the Calligraphy Association, keeping an eye on Jiang He. Jiang He was practicing calligraphy with a group of children, his face splattered with ink dots, yet he still maintained a cool and silent demeanor that made the other children want to speak but not dare to. Jiang He casually took out his phone to take a picture, then sent it to Bai Lian without much thought. Next door, Hall Master Jin poured a glass of water for Bai Lian, and after a long silence he finally asked, Are you sure you want to invest in the Martial Arts Academy? Yes, Bai Lian, who had barely used her 10 million, leaned back in her chair slightly. The development here is promising, and reopening the martial arts school is just a matter of time. Hall Master Jin knew that as well. This place was planned to be a tourism route, and recently many people had approached him to buy the martial arts school. I've seen your plan, Hall Master Jin looked up, but reopening the martial arts school won't be easy. Speak, Bai Lian blew on the hot water and looked up. Hall Master Jin smiled reluctantly. Jingfeng Martial Arts School won't let us open it that easily. Yes, Hall Master Jin's gaze shifted towards the door. They have backers. In Xiancheng, many martial arts schools closed down because of them, eventually having to change business paths. Knowing this, do you still want to invest with me? Of course. Bai Lian's phone on the table lit up. She checked it and saw the picture sent by Jiang He. She chuckled lightly. Are you serious? Hall Master Jin's grip on his teacup tightened slightly, his gaze fixed on Bai Lian, but they really do have powerful people behind them. Powerful people. Bai Lian looked up, leaning back, her fingertips idly tapping on the table, her demeanor relaxed. Then I'm quite curious to see who exactly that might be. Xiancheng Hospital. Su En's hospital room. Dr. Lance's antidote won't arrive in Xiancheng until tomorrow, and at the moment, oxygen was still being administered to his face. You're saying it's a CN nerve agent? The police officer looked at Sue's assistant with some hesitation. Are you sure? Sue's assistant nodded. These were all detected by Dr. Li, and he has the records. The officer nodded affirmatively and made a note of it, finally turning to Jai Mulan. Miss Jai, if this involves foreign elements, the investigation will be much more difficult. Why? Jai Mulan asked the officer, visibly agitated. Old Su has been poisoned. Look at him now, lying on the hospital bed, his life hanging by a thread. The officer, understanding the emotions of the victim's family, held his notebook. Our authority isn't that extensive, and it's highly likely this will end up unresolved. He was being honest with Jai Mulan. Xiancheng, being near the border, had too many such cases. The two officers almost spelled it out. The waters were too deep for ordinary people to dare to wade in. We will do our best, another officer tried to soothe Jai Mulan, but looking into their eyes. How could Jai Mulan not know they were just making excuses? If you don't have the authority, then find someone who does. She was about to say more, but she was stopped by Sue's assistant, who shook his head at her. Sue's assistant escorted the two officers out. He then called Ren Kaiyan. Among the people they knew, only Ren Kaiyan had a significant influence in Xiancheng. Mr. Su returned to Jiangjing. Ren Kaiyan had already received the false news from Sue's assistant. Sue's assistant followed Bai Lian's wishes and subtly changed the subject without a trace. Yes, so is the police force in Xiancheng limited in handling international cases? Upon hearing this, Ren Kaiyan answered seriously. It's not exactly that there's no way. Sue's assistant was startled. Please tell me. Sue's assistant, can't you guess? Ren Kaiyan did not say it directly, but Sue's assistant understood. Thank you. Jai Mulan sat in front of Su En's hospital bed and tilted her head slightly. What does Ren Kaiyan mean? Is there someone who can take care of old Sue's issue? Who is it? Sue's assistant was somewhat silent. You should have heard of him, Chen Yongkun. Chen Yongkun? Jai Mulan looked up blankly. She had heard the name more than once. Su En had been in Xiancheng for so long, and, with his status, hadn't been able to invite that Mr. Chen for a meal. Only Su Yajun from Jiangjing had met Mr. Chen once. To meet him was already so difficult, yet to ask Mr. Chen to investigate Su En's case. Sue's assistant took out his cell phone to leave. He was calling Su Weniao. Su Weniao was on the way from Baikeng to Xiancheng, and as he heard the news, his gaze turned to the window outside. So we cannot hold them accountable. There's no way, sighed Sue's assistant, having experienced more than Su Weniao. It's already an unexpected stroke of luck that Mr. Su was saved this time. Ren Kaiyan and the others made it very clear. Regarding this matter, he suspects that it might be Mr. Liu, so perhaps only Chen Yongkun would be able to intervene. After all, the project that Su En had was snatched from Mr. Liu's hands. Su En had been here so long, and Mr. Liu was the only enemy they knew of, not aware that Mr. Liu had already disappeared. Su Weniao pursed his lips. I'll contact Su Yajun. He and Su Yajun had been high school classmates. In times like this, they could only contact her. No one in the Su family knew Mr. Chen. When Bai Lian brought Jai Heng to see Su En, Sue's assistant had just hung up the phone. Miss Bai, Mr. Jai. Seeing both of them, Sue's assistant greeted them respectfully and proactively opened the door to the hospital room. What happened? Bai Lian walked up to the bed, casually checking Su En's pulse. She asked indifferently. Jai Mulan was upset at the moment. Dr. Lance hadn't delivered the antidote yet, and she didn't know whether she could trust Bai Lian. As for Su En's case, they still hadn't found anyone to investigate it. Bai Lian asked her question, but Jai Mulan couldn't be bothered to reply. Jai Heng sat silently on the side, quietly asking Sue's assistant about Su En's condition. Sue's assistant explained a few words to Jai Heng, and remembering Bai Lian liked tea, he found a can of tea and went out to get some hot water to brew it for her. He then answered Bai Lian, "The police said this case will be difficult to investigate. It's impossible to gather evidence, and it's very likely it'll come to nothing." Sue's assistant didn't spell out the specifics. It was only this morning after going to school that Sue's assistant realized Bai Lian was just a high school senior. Why? Bai Lian withdrew her hand, gesturing for Sue's assistant to place the tea on the table, her eyes slightly narrowed. She wasn't very familiar with modern laws. Jiang He looked up at Bai Lian, pressing her temples. You go back and focus on your studies, why ask so much? We already have enough trouble, don't get involved in this, child. Bai Lian took out her phone, slightly tilted her head, her eyebrows and eyes unusually cold. Miss Bai, Sue's assistant, didn't pay attention to Jiang He, explaining to Bai Lian, because it involves foreign jurisdictions, we need assistance from Interpol to investigate and gather evidence. Mr. Chen might have a way, but he didn't voice that thought. Bai Lian's phone then rang. Okay, Bai Lian answered the call. Standing by the window, she looked down at the floor below. 3rd floor, room 312. Room 312 was Sue N's hospital room. Sue's assistant looked at Bai Lian with surprise. Who was on the other end of the phone? Is it really that troublesome? Jiang He still held his large tobacco pipe, which wasn't lit. Most of the time, it helped him calm down. So he carried it everywhere. Jiang He sighed. Dad, don't ask if you don't know. Even Ren Kaiyan can't do anything for now. She mentioned Ren Kaiyan, and Jiang He understood the severity of the situation. Then what do we do? What to do? Jiang He didn't know either. During the silence, there was a knock on the door, and Sue's assistant snapped back to awareness and went to open the door with the kettle in his hand. Outside stood a middle-aged man dressed in casual black attire, holding a bunch of sunflowers. His face was stern as he nodded slightly at Sue's assistant before entering. When he saw Bai Lian and Jiang He, he greeted, Miss Bai, Uncle Jai. He placed the sunflowers beside Sue N's pillow. He didn't greet Jiang He. Director Chen, this case. Bai Lian put away her phone, focusing only on Sue N in the bed, her tone measured. Will it end unresolved? Her tone suggested Chen Yongkun dare to say yes and see what happens.